Shreya, there was some technical issue. We'll start with your introduction again.
Sure,
Yeah,
will do.
please. Please start. Give your introduction again. Yeah, there was some issue.
All right, sure.
Technical issue.
So thank you, Rekha, for calling me here. I am Shreya Biswas, and I'm a storyteller by profession. But at the same time, I'm an avid reader, a dreamer, you can tell me, a teacher, trainer, and I run an organization called Katharangam, which uses stories in education, business, and communication. So that's a small introduction.
Wonderful. What was your childhood like? Because I'm sure it would have been a great impact on your storytelling venture.
Yes, it is. Actually, I grew up in a joint family. So I was surrounded by a lot of loving family members, and I was very close to my grandparents, both my grandfathers, my paternal grandfather, my Dadaji I lived with, and my Nanaji, my paternal grandfather, whom I visited during my summer vacation for a month every year. And both my grandfathers were wonderful storytellers. So they had their own genres of stories, but their stories are something that live within me. So, and another thing is both my parents, my father and mother, both of them were professors of Bengali language. So I lived with books. So there were a lot of books at home. My parents encouraged me to read. So I think stories became a part of my life, whether through books or whether the stories that I listened from my grandparents. So that is, I think, a legacy that I'm carrying forward through my work and my journey.
Wonderful. That's really great. Can you hear me?
Yes, please. I can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yes, Rekha, I can hear you. No problem.
Yeah, okay. That's good. So while going through your profile, I noticed that you are a chemistry graduate. How did you transition from that to your storytelling?
Yes, that's a question a lot of people feel surprised about.
Okay.
Yes, I am a chemistry graduate, and I loved reading chemistry. I was pretty good with my work there, but then I got married soon after I graduated, and so once my child was born, I started working in a preschool. So because I wanted, that was 3 hours work, so I wanted the rest of the time to be with my child. That's when I started actually using a lot of stories in the classroom with the children. And I realized, I saw it actually, that even the naughtiest child sits quietly when you tell them a story. And stories are an integral part of preschool education, right? Yes. But I never really thought that I would become a storyteller. Even then, I used to tell a lot of stories to my child. And since my child was born and brought up in Bangalore, there was a slight, people in my family, my mother tongue is Bengali. So they said that, well, this child is growing up in Bangalore. He'll learn Hindi, he will learn Kannada, he will learn English, but will he learn Bengali? So I took it upon myself so that he at least learns his mother tongue. He will not learn it in school. Yes,
very important.
So that was what I think that came through stories. But honestly speaking, I did not ever dreamt that I would take up storytelling as a profession. In fact, I did not choose storytelling. I think stories chose me.
They chose. That's very interesting.
I'll tell you how I came into it. I was a member of British Library in Bangalore, and they have a lot of programs. So in one of those programs, I came across a British storyteller, and his name was Richard Burton, and he was telling stories. I listened to his stories for an hour. I realized that these are the stories I read as a child. I knew each and every story. This is something that I had read it as a child. But I never knew that you could actually perform the stories standing in front of an audience. Telling a story could be an art. I realized that day. And I felt that, okay, I also know stories. Will it be possible for me to go out and tell stories and take it up as a profession? The idea of profession was still not very clear in my mind, but I wanted to tell stories. So I think that was the seed that Mr. Richard Martin sowed in me. And then I went out looking for where can I learn? Are there any nuances that you can learn about telling a story? Because, well, in India, you do not have any school or college that gives you a degree in storytelling. So I figured out that there are places, even in Bangalore, there's an NGO who conducts workshops. And now we have all across India as well. So I did workshops on storytelling from different storytellers, very eminent storytellers, whether Indian, then there are different people who came from USA or UK. And my journey as a storyteller, I think it began.
Is it easy for anyone to pick up being a storyteller, to become a storyteller?
See, I think I'll tell you one thing. Each and every person is a storyteller. We are all telling stories throughout the day. We all are. We human beings are innate storytellers. We have that in us. But when you want to go and stand in one-on-one, we are doing that every day. Yes, day in and day out, talking with our friends, our family, children, parents.
Cooking up stories. Cooking up stories.
We are all cooking up stories.
Yes.
Just imagine your house help comes to you in the morning after a day is off, and what kind of stories you listen to.
That's what
starts
with that.
Yes. But when you are doing that on a professional front, yes, there are certain things that we pick up or learn how to use our voice so that you have a lot of big audience in front of you, and one person has to keep each and everyone engaged. So what kind of stories to tell, how you are going to tell it, how you are going to interact with your audience, these are the things that we have to learn when you want to become a professional storyteller. And I think everyone can learn that. Like, we all sing, we all draw, but then one person becomes a singer or an artist. So how you take that forward, then it depends upon you.
That's true. That's true. Since how many years you are into it?
I started my first workshop. I think I met Mr. Richard Martin sometime in 2010. Okay. And then I did my workshop and I started volunteering with an organization. But Katharangam was born in 2013.
I see. Okay. Do you have a team of...
Yes, I have a small team of people, working with me. So we work together. And more than that, I think we do a lot of collaborations with people, because I feel that storytelling is a very individual art, and each and every person has something else to give, and they have their own strengths. So I do go and collaborate with a lot of other people.
Okay, wonderful. So what are the different things your organization specializes in?
Well, Katharangam specializes in a lot of things. They're primarily, as storytellers, we do storytelling performances. So for children, for family, for adults. So we can go to schools, libraries, activity spaces, or even theaters where we go and perform. That's one thing. Then we do workshops, like we do not have storytelling, the people who want to learn how to tell a story. So for children and for adults, we have storytelling workshops. I do workshops in schools, how to integrate storytelling into their regular curriculum and how to teach through stories. Because I believe that if you learn something to story, if you learn any concept through a story, it is always going to stay with you. So I think when children learn, especially we're teaching primary kids, pre-primary, primary children, storytelling is an essential component. So this is what I train school teachers with. And then we do a lot of corporate sessions, corporate and business sessions, where again we have storytelling workshops and storytelling performances there as well, which are curated by us and which are very customized according to the need of the particular customer. I conduct a lot of awareness programs. Okay. So awareness, yes, so about child sexual abuse, about learning disabilities and cyber crime awareness. So because any awareness, if you want to spread that, it's best done through a story. You cannot spread awareness just by giving people information. It has to be done through a story. People understand, people remember. So this is one thing I do. Then now we are doing a lot of video stories. We are creating content and creatives, which we have done. I have done small creative story. I created stories for Mercedes-Benz. I created stories for Renault, Nissan. They wanted it. Then we are doing brand stories for companies. Then I also volunteer for a certain weaker sections of the society, which I feel I need to give back to the society. So I do go and volunteer with orphanages, with special needs children and underprivileged kids. So I have done a lot of sessions with government schools and with the Karnataka, the Spastic Society of Karnataka. In fact, my storytelling journey started with an orphanage and Spastic Society of Karnataka.
Oh, awesome, awesome. So what about senior citizen homes? Have you been there also, or you haven't?
Homes, I have been there once, and it is there in my mind. I think there is a great need to go and connect with senior citizens, and that is there in my mind, and I'm sure, Rekha, we will do it. I did it only once. The love that I got from them is amazing, and this is again that I would like to go out and do, not only myself, with my entire team.
Yeah, they would love to hear such stories.
So much to share. They also have so much to share. They are wonderful storytellers, actually.
Yes.
It's all a give and take process, and we are going to do that.
Okay. I wish you all the best for that. Okay. You also teach different storytelling techniques. Could you please tell us a little about these?
Yes. Stories, of course. The first thing you need is your voice. You stand and tell a story.
Yeah.
But now when you want to engage, especially children, you need to have a few other techniques in your bag. So how to use music, musical instruments, rhythm and rhymes that the children are familiar with. Then how to take out a musical story or a story in rhythm. So we try and teach that. And of course, with children, especially since I told you that I worked a lot with spastic kids. So they do not have access to the outer world, just so many other regular children. So you need to bring the world to them. So there also we used a lot of special techniques with them, using puppets, small dolls, or what they like, different kinds of props. So there you have to take a little more individualistic stand, because each and every child would be different over there.
Yeah.
When you are addressing a big gathering, so even there your technique needs to be a little different. How you stand, how you deliver. And your technique will be absolutely different when you are standing in front of a corporate audience, because there you have absolutely adults sitting out there. Now, your music and dance is not going to work. So it has to be something else. Your technique needs to be different out there. So these we do. And of course, I do a lot of picture stories.
Please throw some light on what kind of stories you tell the corporates. We would like to know a little about that.
Yes, the corporates, there are two different things that I would like to put light on. In a business organization, telling a story is a skill that they must acquire. It's a must-do skill, because in any business organization, if they want to take that legacy forward, if they want to create a legacy, they must become master storytellers. So I do a lot of workshops in business organizations, which I have done, because usually what we think a business organization is something that makes a product. It's known for its product. Any business organization, that's what it is.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
the more important thing in a business is not the product, but the people. Because
Yes.
it's the people
Absolutely.
who make the product, it's the people who buy the product. So the story of a business organization, if you have a profound story, that is the story that your people will relate to, whether it's your customer or it's your employee. An employee would look forward, not only, yes, of course, the salary, it matters, but it will also look forward to the history, the value, the vision and mission of the organization, right? So these are the stories sometimes we create. And these stories are, so they are very customized stories. So it can be created, maybe the core or the base of the story is a very simple folklore. It can be a folk tale, but then modified into what the company wants. Some companies have their own stories. If they are, I mean, just imagine, think about Apple, think about the Tata group of companies, or even Infosys, or Tesla. They are all great companies who have a profound story going with them. It's the story of the company.
Okay.
And the people, they believe in that story. Their employees believe in them. They have a belief in what they are doing, so they make great employees, and the customers believe in them. So that is why you go and buy that product.
Yeah. True.
Yes, because otherwise there is so much information in the market that a customer gets boggled by the huge quantity of information that comes to you, because there are so many companies making the same product. So why should you choose one? So there comes the story of the company, whether it's a story for the marketing or the story of the product or the story of the company itself, that really makes the impact on the customer. And these are the stories that sometimes we create. We create brand stories, we make the brand stories, because the people there, they know the story, but how to create it and how to deliver it, it comes to us.
Okay, that's what we would like to know. Give us a small example. How do you make, say, if you have to go to a company called Apple, what story will you tell them? So just a short one.
Yes, of course. I will give you a small idea.
Yeah.
This is something I have done.
Okay.
For Mercedes-Benz. So yes, it is. It was not their company story. What they wanted is, they have this Mercedes-Benz, the research and development. They have more than 1,000 employees out there.
Yeah.
They came to me with one brief. They said that we are a company with 1,000+ employees, and just imagine the diversity we have in here. We want a 10-minute story that highlights that diversity and shows how important it is. So in 10 minutes, we are going to have a day full of program on that, but you need to set the tone of it. So in one story, you need to incorporate diversity in terms of ethnicity, diversity in terms of gender, diversity in terms of age and experience, diversity in terms of language, and you need to bring them all together and give us the essence of it in 10 minutes. Can you do that? So that was a challenge that they had threw to me. And so I had only 10 minutes time. Okay. And you have to bring all of that to 1,500 people who were sitting in front of you. So I chose a story, which is a European folk tale. It's called Stone Soup.
Okay, Tom Soup.
Stone Soup, a stone.
Stone Soup, okay.
And then it was the core of the story. But then you have to build the story, because that story is not meant for Mercedes.
Yes.
That is a folklore which comes from, I took it out to Germany, because Mercedes comes from Germany. So I told them, say, I cannot talk about cars because you know about cars much better than I do. What I can tell you is a story, and you sit and listen to it. So I told him a folk tale where a person is supposed to be creating a soup made out of stone. But really, can you make soup out of stone? No, you can't. The man was hungry. He wanted to have soup, and he didn't have anything with him. He was a traveler. So he created this aura of saying that, okay, I am making soup, and it's so good. So how he brings the entire village together, each one different, each one bringing one ingredient to it.
Okay, wow.
And how they make the most exquisite and tasty soup, which each and every one of them shared at the end. So that's what
a
huge
brilliant idea.
Yes, that's what they are doing. They are bringing people from diverse backgrounds, each with their own strengths. And that's what is assimilating in that huge company, bringing out one of the best products into the market. And you get a share of it. So you need to believe in what you are doing. And so that one story, it's a simple folk tale, but how you deliver it. And of course, you have to bring out, I had to bring in each and everything that my client told me to. So these things were well thought out and brought together into that story. But in the core of it, it was just a simple folk tale.
Fantastic.
It is.
It is. So do you have a favorite theme that you would find yourself going back with your stories?
A theme I will not say. I will say genre. I love telling stories, different kinds of stories, from mythology to personal stories, from epics to everything. But my personal favorites are folk tales. And folk tales from all across the world.
They're all-time favorites, yeah.
My all-time favorites. So I mean, even in India, it's such a diverse country, and each and every state has their own cultures, own stories, but they are just awesome. So I'm a storyteller, so stories keep coming.
Yeah.
I was visiting Ahmedabad it was a story festival going on. So I was participating in that. And we storytellers, when we get together, we are always telling stories. So we were just chatting over a cup of tea, and one Gujarati lady, she told us a story, and she said, this is a Gujarati folktale. And I was listening to it, and I realized that I had heard that story from my grandfather, and I knew it as a Bengali folktale. So I said, what I have heard. A lady who was sitting with me, and she's quite a senior lady, she was smiling. And she said, okay, I'll give you the Tamil version of it. She's a Tamilian.
Okay.
So she gave the Tamil version of it. The story is the same.
Yeah.
And little changes, because depending upon the geography and the culture. But the story, I was quite, mesmerized by that. And I really felt, okay, let me go and look at it. Do other states or other countries have the same story? Don't believe it, Rekha. I found the same story in Australia, in England, in Scotland, Ireland, Greece, Portugal, France, Spain, Austria, and Native America. So
which was the story?
One story which connects the entire world. Just little twists and turns, little differences here and there. But it is the same story. So that's the beauty of a folktale.
Fabulous.
And I love telling folktales again and again.
You really enjoy making stories and telling stories. How many hours a day do you work?
I cannot really say that. Some days I simply don't work. And
Oh,
that's the
wonderful.
beauty of my work. So some days I really don't work, and there are days when I simply read. But yes, every day reading stories can be just fun for others, but that is a part of my work. If I
Yes.
read 100 stories, then maybe I will find 10 stories which I really want to tell. Because what I want to tell, maybe it's different for other people.
Yeah.
So you might like, I may not. So I really need to sit and work on stories and see how and where I can use a story. These become very important, because what story I can tell to a 3-year-old, that same story, if I have to go and tell to a 12-year-old, I have to change the way
Modify that. Yes.
yes,
Customize the story.
you have to customize it. And also you need to have a bag full of stories with you, because once if I go to a school and or I am there with children and I'm telling a story, and there are 3 kids who say, oh, I've heard that story before. So you need to come up with something else so that everyone enjoys it.
Yeah.
So you need to have quite a good repertoire of stories with you. So actually, we don't have holidays, and most of my performances do happen on holidays and weekends, because that's when people come and watch performances. So I really work on Sundays. I work through, and though now it is online, so I am having the opportunity to work online with people, like I'm sitting here and I'm talking to you. But I do love telling stories.
Yeah.
Live. The reaction that you get from people who are sitting in front of you, that you cannot get on any laptop anywhere.
I know. So how has COVID affected your storytelling venture? Has it helped you, or?
I would say it's 2 ways. With the online platform coming, I had to change my storytelling way completely. I used to stand and tell stories and a lot of gestures. And storytelling is one art that is interactive.
Yeah.
When you are singing or you are doing a theater or a drama, it's the people on the stage and the audience simply sits and listens. But in a story, as a storyteller, I get my audience to tell the story along with me at times and interact with me.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
they can stop me, they can talk to me, and again the story flows with that. And it happens a lot with children. So that becomes a little difficult when you are doing it on screen. The interaction of the children becomes restrictive. I cannot really get what I'm doing it live. But then the things that we used to do in a workshop, the group activities that we used to do, people getting together and doing activities together, I had to change it, because now in online, I cannot get them together, maybe group them up in a huddle or something. That is becoming a little difficult. I had to change that stance as well. But online has given me that platform to work across the world, which earlier was not possible. Always I had to travel. Now that traveling time is not there. So I just got an opportunity to participate in a storytelling festival, of course a virtual storytelling festival in US, and we just did it for Towson University, and it was a month-long festival, and we participated in that. Again, I participate. It was a regular. We used to do it live in Chennai, but even this year we did it online. And the beauty of it was storytellers from all across the world participated in it.
Yeah, so, that's the beauty. Yes,
that's the beauty of it. I could listen to so many storytellers from different countries coming and telling stories, and the interaction that you have is just awesome. So,
and you save a lot on time, money, energy.
Yes, that you do. Yeah. So pros and cons are there everywhere and everything, and we have to take it in our stride. It's a change in time. We have to go and flow with the change, right?
Yes, absolutely. You use a lot of visual art while storytelling. Yes. So that must be a treat, especially for kids.
Yes.
Could you please tell us a little about that?
Yes, I will do. See, it's not something that I innovated. Visual storytelling in art was always there in India, especially.
Yes.
If you go to Rajasthan, you will see people doing storytelling with the picture scrolls. Even in Bengal, we have the Pattachitras where they used to tell stories with scrolls again. And we have covered stories where again they have picture things. I also do what we call Chitrakatha. So the entire story is carved out in picture. I'll show you one which I have with you. It's a recent one I did. I don't know whether you see it.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
like this. So it's the entire story in all these pages. So it's about a boy who did not like to brush his teeth. So these are the kind of stories we need to go out and tell children. So here again, so each and every frame tells a different story, and we remove these and we keep on. So the boy dreamt that his teeth were all running away because his teeth were, being very scared of being eaten by sugar bugs. So they were just going out. The teeth were very scared, and they are trying to find out other people who really need teeth and who are going to keep them happy and healthy.
Yeah.
That's a story there. So
lovely. You have this on YouTube also. I watched that yesterday.
Yes, this is a story that, yes, I have this on YouTube. This is a recent one I did. So these are picture stories which we do, and I laminate these pictures and I give them to the children when I used to do it live. So give them to the children. So they also learn to weave stories based on this. Another thing I do is as I tell story, I keep drawing on a board. Whether it's a blackboard or a whiteboard, I stand, and as I tell the story, the entire story is picturized on the board. So that's again something children enjoy, and again the visual impact is large. And then I use that because stories are multi-dimensional. So when you generally use them when I'm trying to teach some concept to the child. So a story which I am telling and drawing on the board, and then I use that same picture frame to teach them shapes, to teach them maths, to teach them counting. So all these things keep happening in that entire story itself. So that's a great way to teach children because they remember it, because the story is associated with it.
Does your storytelling help in other subjects also, like mathematics, science and all?
Yes. So we create stories, yes. For children, definitely. And we are also using a lot of stories for STEM subjects for older kids. And we are using stories to teach languages, different languages, because that's a great medium to teach. Vocabulary, yes. Then we are using stories to teach environmental science, ecology. That becomes a great part. So you can actually use stories to teach basically everything. If corporates can use stories to teach, in their business, we can use stories everywhere. We are using stories to make people aware about cybercrime, about child sexual abuse, about learning disabilities. So these are also things that we are using stories only to bring this awareness, because stories always stay. It's easy to understand, it's easy to remember, and it's easy to communicate to someone else. If I tell one story to someone and you like it, you are going to tell the story to another person, and it travels. So it's a great tool for awareness campaigns. We are teaching it, using it for everything. We are using it in the universities. I go there as guest lecturer, using stories in universities as well.
Okay. Have you made any story on this COVID also? On the vaccines or anything?
Not on the, we are doing it on the vaccines, yes. And it's a small awareness campaign we did, but on the COVID, yes, we did. So that's a story I told in the Chennai Storytelling Festival.
I see.
Yes. And we had a lockdown last year. So last year's storytelling festival, also it was a story that I wrote, and it was a story based on COVID and the lockdown, how it impacts people's lives. So yes, stories are coming up. Every situation gives you a story.
Yes. It's up to you how you grasp and what you take out and learn from that. That's true. That's true. Would you say that being a multilingual storyteller is much more rewarding than doing it in one language?
Yes, of course. Of course it is. Because one language you are bound to only that people who
Restricted to one, yes.
But the moment you can speak more than one language, the more the merrier. So now I speak three. I understand the fourth, Kannada. I understand little, but I am not really fluent enough to go out and speak. But I use it. See, I go to government schools to tell stories, and there I use stories to help them learn English. But so when I go to a government school in Karnataka, the children speak Kannada. So I have to tell a story. If I tell a story only in English, they will not understand. So I have to make it bilingual out there. So when I am going, I have told a number of stories, done storytelling festivals in Delhi. Again, I have visited government schools out there. So I can tell stories in Hindi, but I go there and I tell them, see, I might make mistakes. It's not my mother tongue. I might make mistakes. If I make mistakes, please correct me. The children are overly happy to correct me there whenever I make a mistake. And I keep asking them, did you understand what I'm saying? And they said, yes, it's perfect. There's no problem. But it immediately breaks the barrier between the storyteller and the children. And it is always good to know more than one language. It is always good.
So you know any foreign language also?
Foreign language, a little bit. I know a bit of Italian, but that's not, again, I'm not fluent enough to go and tell a story in it, but I do understand that. So bits and pieces of it, I would be able to smatter of it here and there, but not a But I'm in the process of learning it up so that I can.
Wow, that's very nice. That's great. Would you like to give the audience a message before we wrap up?
My message would always be, please keep reading. That's one thing I think nowadays, I don't see a lot of children reading books, nor I see a lot of them listening to stories, honestly, because they are glued. Now, of course, being online education, they have to have a lot of screen time. I would request parents and I would request the children to go back to regular reading. What you get from reading, you cannot get from if you're watching TV, that is also a story that's happening there, I understand. But in that visual medium, it moves so fast that the entire thing doesn't register out there. And when you are reading, you start developing your vocabulary, of course, the spellings. As you are reading, you are looking at words. That doesn't happen when you are watching on a screen. So that automatically comes to you, and building up your listening ability and your concentration. That comes when you are listening to a story and you are reading a book. Both are equally important. So I think whatever you need to do online, it's great. It's the need of the times. We will go on with technology, but please leave our age-old books aside. They will be, and they are always with you.
They are the best friends.
Are your best friends always. And whenever you get a time, do tell a story. So
very well.
We are all storytellers, so do listen to us.
Very well said. Very well.
It's that heart-to-heart connection.
So, anything else you want to say, Shreya? Or should we wrap up now?
That's your choice.
Okay. So, this was a very interesting session. It's great that through your organization, you are bringing the art of storytelling back into children's lives. I wish you all the very best. And thank you for coming here, Shreya.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And audience, I just want to say that please take all the precautions, wear your mask, stay safe, stay blessed, and no one should have COVID now. We should break the chain and come out of it. Thank you very much. With this, I end the session. Thank you.